Exactly. Okay, well, let's graph these. And so this is basically what I'm going to have you do. So we're going to go through, I'm going to graph the first one, and basically what I want you to do is graph all the other data. And then next week, what you're going to do, and make sure you know that, I'm going to have these videos out there, but write down what you did. And then we're going to give this to each of the groups. Each group is going to validate another group's data. If you're not getting the same graphs, then something went wrong. Somebody made a mistake. And we do this a lot in data. Is I might do an experiment and I'm saying, I don't know if I did this right. I'll give the experiment to somebody else, tell them how I did it, and if they get the same things that I do, then it's probably correct. Okay. So we're going to go to Insert, or actually on your tabs, I'm going to go to Charts. I think you got Insert, right? Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, first off, what I should do is I should select this first two columns. And don't select the average, median, and SD. Okay, everybody select that? Okay, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go Scatter. Scatter is basically an XY plot. You have an X value, you have a Y value. You put a dot where those two intersect. So in this case, our our X values are going to be the date, and our Y values are going to be what? Temperature, right? So let's go mark scatter. Well, actually, you know what? Let's do a straight mark scatter. Let's see what that does. Okay, everybody get this graph? Does it look like this? Yes, no, maybe? I know it's Friday, guys. I gotta be vocal. I'm up here. What, does everybody's graph kind of look like this? Okay, well, what do we know? I mean, so let's look at this graph for a minute. Okay, so basically, what did we graph here? MO. What does this represent? Yep. Yep, over the summer months. So this represents, this line that we've drawn and all these data points represents the XY plot of that information. What do you notice about the data right away? What's that? It's kind of, it does cycle, right? There's no straight line. I'm sure in these days maybe there was a storm that hit Miami, made it colder. So the maximum temperatures weren't as high as the other ones, and you're going to see this. This fluctuates. So basically what I want to do is I want to kind of draw a line that represents this. But here's what I want you to kind of look at, is that we've got a lot of open space here, don't we? That we've kind of compressed the data. Does that make sense? So what I want to do is that we're not be able to see as much because we're so far away, that the data is only in one little section. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to click on the left axis, this y-axis here. So double click on it. Do you see this window? Yep. Okay. Here's where we can set on what kind of plane that we want to look at this information. What are the limits that we want to look? How much open space do we want to leave? So for the minimum, what's one of our minimum values? Let's just try 70 for minimum. So I'm going to hit 70. Okay. And then maximum, does anything go above? Yeah. Let's leave the 100. That's fine. And hit OK. Now look at it. Doesn't that look different? When you're farther away, when the data's compressed, it almost looked like it was a straight line and across, right? The more we zero into this data, now we can start seeing, definitive patterns. And if we zoomed into this even more, we would see more patterns. Okay. Here's what I want to do is I want to get rid of those lines. Okay, because while these lines are interesting, what I want to do is represent a straight, or basically draw a straight line that's going to represent kind of the floating mean of all this data. Okay, this is called a regression line. So click on the whole chart itself and right click. Did everybody do that? Okay, now we're going to go change chart type. Did you guys get options? For some reason mine didn't come up. Let's see if he'll do it. Maybe I have to do it here. There it goes. Did everybody get rid of those lines? Yes? Good. Okay. So remember, in the first one, there's lots of different ways to look at, this information. And that's next week where I'm going to have you start playing with some different ways, Not just lines, maybe we can do columns, we can do, histograms, we can do some other things like that and combine this stuff. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to draw my regression line. Okay? So I'm going to click on one of these data points. And select a bunch. Now right click. We're going to go add trend line. This is kind of what we did. Where did we use this before? Does anybody remember? The which one? Yeah, we were testing to see how well our prediction was, right? We had our prediction and then the actual score. That was our XY plot. Here on this one, we have the date versus the temperature. Same plot, same actual equations that we're using. We're just using different data. So let's go add a trend line. Okay. So it added it for. Well, actually, let's dress this up a little bit. So this is 1984. We're going to go to options. Okay, we'll put the equation on there. That might be cool. Okay, and then where's the line? Go to line. Let's make the color, what color do you want to make this? 1954. How about bright blue? Okay. Now we're going to go to gradients. That's a very thin line. I want to make that line thicker. Actually, don't go to gradients. I'm sorry. Weights and arrows. Here on this, so this is basically the thickness of the line. Okay. What I want to do, let's make this to 2. Okay. Hit OK. So now we can see that a little better. Actually, let's make it 3. There we go. Okay, did everybody do that? Does everybody's graph, using your data kind of look like this? That's the thing when I said, did your data look like this? I assumed everybody's true in Miami. I forgot. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We only did 1 year, right? And here's something you can do. Let's take this and put this by this linear thing, this equation. We might be able to use this information. Where this line is going to cross the x-axis or its slope might be interesting as far as our analysis of temperature. So here's the quick and dirty way to get all the rest of the data. I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit select data. And do you see this change? Do you have a chart data range? This is magic button time here. I love this button. So here's what we're going to do. Basically what this is doing is this is saying what parts of the graph do you want me to use. So I'm going to click this button, or at least, what data do you want me to use? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to select everything now. Just the data though. I mean the data and the column headers. Hit OK. Now let's go up and see what happened. Aha! Yep. But you got a lot of data there, don't you? And here's the thing is now that we have all our data, we could actually kind of alter this chart. Let's look at, do we really need anything below 75? Or at least on my chart? No. So I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm going to double click this, scale. So I'm going to make my minimum value 75. Okay, so here's what I'm going to have you do. And so for the rest of the day, we're going to start graphing these, and I'm going to come around and start looking at them. But what you want to do is graph your regression lines for all these data points. You should be able to tell by the colors what points represent what. So if I'm going to do 1964, I'm looking for a purple X. And if I mouse over the purple X, it'll say series max 1964 point. So I'm going to right click that, add trend line. Ooh, that one's it's a little lower. And again, you can do the lines. Let's make this a different color. You can make this, I don't know, orange for Broncos, weights and arrows. We want to do 3. Oh, and we want, let's put the equation on there. Okay, and we can drag this one down to kind of represent this one. So we'll keep them in order here from beginning to end. So let's do this for all the years, and then when you guys are done, we'll take a look at it and see if any of these lines are different. Again, here's what a regression line is. This is basically what we've done, is we've drawn a line that kind of represents the mean of those data points across that region of time. That if we had a bunch of low values in 1954, this line would actually be tilted more towards the 75. It would actually go up higher. That's what we're trying to do, is we basically take a linear line and try to represent the average of the data as best as possible. And there's all kinds of mathematical equations for this. But just think of it this as these lines represent kind of the heart of whatever year you're looking at. And so by looking at these lines, what we're going to do is we're going to see if there's any difference between the years. All right. Work on this, and I'll be coming around.